And we are live on Wednesday morning. Excuse me. August 16 in the year of our Lord 2023. And so much is happening, I don't know where to begin. Wow. I am in one of those arcs of weirdness that things disappear and then a couple hours later they'll be right where I put them, in the spot where I already looked a million times. It's kind of like Ubik where, hi Howard. Howard is in the chat. I got my very first chatter for the day and Howard caught me live. Amazing. Well, anyway, I got up early and made breakfast and I don't want to eat it. It's true, I'm not hungry in the morning. And it's not just any breakfast, it's bacon and avocado on toast. Oh, some of my favorites. And I'm not hungry. But by the time I finish here, I'll be hungry and I'll chow down on it. Well, I better begin with Maui. I cannot remember the name of the town that burned down, but I do remember that it used to be the capital city of Hawaii back when they had a king, Kamehameha, and his daughter, whose name I keep messing up, so I won't try to say it. But the Americans, at the bidding of the large companies that wanted to grow pineapples and sugar cane, she was put under house arrest, and she wrote that beautiful song, Owa. Is it Oahu Oe? Something Oe. It's a very sad song about her loss and her people's loss. Aloha Oe, not Oahu. Well, anyway, the primary population of this city that burned down is Native Hawaiian Islanders, and they know their history. This is their capital city, and the powers that be want to turn it into a 15-minute city run by AI, artificial intelligence. Now that it's burned down, they can rebuild it. And I was shocked when reporters asked our president for a comment on the tragedy in Maui. He said, "No comment." What? No sympathy for the somewhere over 100 so far found dead, and all the people who are now homeless, and many injured, many severely. Just no comment. Oh, and later he announced that he would give each victim $700. I don't think that's going to go very far. As high as the prices are here in California, they're double in Hawaii. $700 won't get the typical Californian through 1 month. In Hawaii, it's probably about a week. But billions of dollars for Ukraine. Something's wrong with this picture. Terribly wrong. I don't like to talk politics because I don't want another ding on my channel here. But this is outrageous. And the few photos and videos we have seen in the media look strange, very strange. Buildings burned down, but trees left standing. Roads and highways not touched by the heat and the flames. Asphalt roads, made with tar, a petroleum product, will burn if it's hot enough. And that fire was hot enough. And it's still burning. Some of the firefighters said they hooked up to the fire hydrants and there was no water. Oh, and the Red Cross is there. I have no respect for the Red Cross. When we had our disaster in 2003 here in the mountains, fortunately, we did not lose very many homes, but when the Red Cross came for disaster relief, all they did was hand out forms to fill out and take to the welfare office down in the valley. Our native tribes did more for us. They brought an early Thanksgiving dinner to the main evacuation center, turkey and all the fixings. The churches provided pet food, blankets, clean towels, people food. The Red Cross gave us forms to fill out to apply for welfare. My insurance covered a broken window and a refrigerator that was destroyed because the electricity was out. Red Cross said, here's a form, go apply for welfare. So I don't have much hope that they'll help the people of Maui. And our president says no comment. That's great leadership. When the people of, oh dear, what's the name of that town? Oh, where the train derailed and spilled chemicals, and they decided the best thing to do was burn the chemicals in the tanker cars. You know who helped? Donald Trump. He brought truckloads of bottled water and food, mostly the bottled water because the water was so polluted or not running at all. Yeah, we all got the leadership they voted for. Who are these people? Who are these millions of people who vote Democrat? If it has a D in front of the name, that gets their vote, no matter who it is. Of course, there's a few. Excuse me, tourists demanding treats. Oh, look at it, it's the green stuff. Seafood medley. Um, there are people who will vote for anyone with an R in front of their name. We're uninformed, and the lamestream media are not very helpful in educating the public about who these politicians are and what they do. And of course, every time Biden gets in trouble, Trump gets indicted. I have no great love for Donald Trump, but my God, what's the other choice? Yes, Tora, you're sweet and cute. Let's see if I can get Tora on camera. Tora, don't leave. All I can see is her butt. There we go. Tora and a kitten. And Tora says, "No, you don't. You don't get in my face and take my treats." It's okay. She won't hurt the kitty. Just letting you know that she's the boss. I don't want to pick up Tora. She's been very resistant to being picked up, and I suspect maybe because she's so heavy and I'm so weak, it's very uncomfortable for her. Hi, Evie and L. Freeman. Kittens of sunlight. And Freeman says, reactor online, sensors online, weapons online, all systems nominal. Good morning. I'd rather have systems optimal, but at the moment they're simply acceptable. I've been to the chiropractor twice now. The first time, it hurt for a couple hours afterward, but then for 3 days I had noticeably improved mobility. After the second treatment, I'm still in pain. That was Thursday. And I had 4 days of noticeably less mobility. But yesterday I was able to putter around and get some things packed up and stowed away. And of course, that increased my pain. What the heck is that? Seeing things backward. I see. From the computer screen, I don't recognize the familiar objects in my house. Oh, Evie wants a turkey sandwich? Oh, I have bacon and avocado. I'll eat it when I'm done here. Turkey sounds so good, but it's so hard to get a turkey except in November, Thanksgiving, and sometimes right before Christmas. And I'm really ticked off for decades now. Um, they've been talking about the traditional Easter ham. No, ham is not traditional. Ham is not kosher, and Easter is Passover. You're supposed to eat lamb. Well, anyway, that city on Maui, whose name I can't get right or even remember correctly, used to be the capital of Hawaii under the King Kamehameha and his daughter Queen. I can't get her name right, so I'm not going to try it. She wrote Aloha Oe, the sad song about the loss of her kingdom and the sadness of her people. All for big companies to grow pineapples and sugarcane. Let go of Maui. Yeah, L. Freeman wants to let go of Maui. I just can't get over our president's reaction. No comment. Well, I'll give them $700 each. $700 wouldn't get me through a month here in California. And in Hawaii, everything's twice as expensive. That might get them a week's worth of food. They're homeless. Their city burned down. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm struggling, but I've managed to sell a few things. I wish you I wish my books would sell more, especially my surrealist novel, The Darkening of the Light, available on Amazon. That, I believe, is my one masterpiece. Not that my other books are not any good, they are, but all right. The ambience of smoke is one thing, but the stink of a burning cigarette butt is not good. Um, but The Darkening of the Light, hexagram 36 in the I Ching. I wrote that novel in a frenzy. I would be asleep in bed and suddenly wake up and feel compelled to get back to the keyboard and type some more. Ooh, it's darkening now. How appropriate. We have a tropical storm coming in. A couple weeks ago, we had an actual winter storm. It was 40 degrees. You know, room temperature is 72. I'm not going to starve, L. Freeman, but it's getting harder and harder to keep the utilities on because the prices have doubled. And I had to run the heater in June. For crying out loud. Even in July and August, I had to run the heat a couple of times. I had shut down the gas heater, which they want to outlaw. So I had to turn on the little electric heater fan a couple times. Oh, L. Freeman finished remembering Firebright. By the way, L. Freeman is a talented author himself. I'm reading in bits and pieces because, you know, life interferes with my time for reading. Something about sevens. I'm not good at remembering things, titles and people's names. Let's see. Notes for sevens something. It's very good. It needs a couple typos fixed, but I think it ought to go on Amazon's Kindle at the very least. That's easy to do to start a Kindle book. You just fill out the info like title, author, etc., and upload your file. They even provide a cover if you don't have one. And the next step would be to turn it into a paperback. It's a little more complicated, but not terribly so. I did find the original manuscript for what became Remembering Firebright. It was written much earlier and probably has things like dates and times a little more accurate, but I have to go through it. And of course, it was written with a typewriter on paper. So if I wanted to publish that, I would have to enter it into the computer. And it was rejected, but with a very nice letter by, see, I've forgotten her name. At Bob, was it Dog Books or no? I think it was Valentine. She said she really liked it, but she just couldn't see a market for it. I think it was Judy Lynn Del Rey. See, I wasn't terribly familiar with any of that stuff when I met Phil, and the info I did derive from being with him was very superficial. And I'm still really not a huge fan of science fiction, believe it or not, even though I write it sometimes. But when, now I've forgotten his name. Oh dear. Well, a colleague who's putting together an anthology wanted a science fiction story. I was able to find only one that I could send him. What the heck is his name? Well, when the anthology comes out, I'll be promoting it. I'm already in Somnoscope, which will be finally available by Christmas. Took them 3 years to get, well, to go through COVID and all, and finally get to where we're signing the contract. It has stories, poems, articles, and images from a variety of authors and illustrators and photographers. It will be called, oh dear, Dreamscape. No, Somnoscope. All right. I'm confused. That's normal for me. I guess it's called Somnoscope. Dreamscape must have been the previous one. I don't know. I'm lost. Anyway, it's, I think the publisher, oh dear. The first one was Mirror Maze. So who's the publisher? I don't know. Can't remember. Maybe Dreamscape is the publisher. I'm totally confused now, but I think I can get some info. Uh-huh. Verizon hates me. Dum, 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 dum. Where'd it go? Where's the hiss? Oh, come on. It should be in here. Settle down, cat. I don't care. You're a cat. Better to go to the scent folder. It's disappeared. How weird. Did it get kicked over to promotions or social? No. Stop it. All right. Here's Patches making a guest appearance. Cigarette ain't burning, it went out. Ah, you wiggle worm. All right. All right. Get off me with your claws. We got kitten claws. Kitten claws are like razor blades. Now, what the hiss? What the hiss? Where did it go? Ah. My computer ate my email. Ah, Patches quit. Get off me. Ah! Well, who knows? It's gone. Oh, it's the wrong email. It's in the other one. Well, Freeman, I don't know why you can't see anyone else's chat, but I don't think anyone else is chatting. All right. Scoot, get your claws off of me. You rotten kitty cat. Get off me. Yeah, Howard's still here. I see a whole bunch of chats by L. Freeman with nothing in between. Here we go. Okay, Somnoscope. Aga is the anthology, but I don't remember the name of the get off me, you cat publisher, and it doesn't seem to say it here. Okay, whatever. I'll promote it when I have a link to promote. You are an asshole, Patches. God. He's turned into the Tasmanian devil because I have cat treats. I had run out and I was just rationing the little tiny bit left for only Tora because she's the main cat. Sometimes I think you're a talented writer, Freeman. Coffee. Ah. Craziness going on. Well, I have a good supply of chocolate. I've got food. I gotta get a little more cat food. Well, if you keep pestering me, you have to make an appearance. Do you hear the purring? She says, I like treats. Yeah, there's a kitty cat in the computer, see? Ah, kitty cat. The kittens are going to be spayed. They're going to be fixed even though they aren't broken at the end of this month. So they won't make more kittens. I think Patches might be adoptable. Maybe. Yes, you. All right. No more treats. Chase the pretty pink dot. You know, the laser pointer. I don't want to burn out the camera lens, but oh, she loves the pink dot. Okay, what else is going on? Oh, I have all those. I have Buy Me a Coffee. I have PayPal, which is my preference, and I have a GoFundMe. The thing is, the funds in GoFundMe have trickled in so slowly that I haven't been able to do any big projects like replace my porch that had to be ripped out because it was pulling up water against my house and causing rot on my house. Some charitable organization built that porch for me, and never again. Hi, Angus. Hi, et Sequentia. Okay, hi, et sec. Hi, Angus. A face full of furball is a nice greeting. It certainly is. Well, I've sold another memento. Haven't got the money yet, but it'll get the utilities paid so I can keep the lights on. You know, it's not a huge amount of money, but I'm at the point where I want my mementos to go to good homes. That's more important than the money. Because I'm 69 years old. My son doesn't want the mementos, the memorabilia. He's become a minimalist. He his possessions are what he needs to have a good life and nothing extra and nothing fancy. And he works for a living. All of Phil's children work for a living. Hollywood is getting rich, and by the way, they don't get paid for the new Blade Runner movie. It isn't a Philip K. Dick story. It's a Ridley Scott story. It's his thing. And that's okay, I guess. I'm more upset that they got nothing for The Matrix, even though it's obviously a Philip K. Dick story. Hi, Morgan. Well, I'm still stuck on Maui because it's a reflection of everything that happens everywhere. and that city with the train derailment was Palestine. I think it's in Ohio. Where the water was polluted, the air was polluted from the chemical spill and from burning the chemicals. That's how they decided to mitigate it, set it on fire. Toxic chemicals. That's what they do. We've had public meetings here and there with our county officials in San Bernardino County, Southern California. They want to know what kind of industry they should build in these mountain communities, which, by the way, depend on tourism, not industry. Now, the 1982 Blade Runner paid Phil, but there's no share of the profits after that. What he got was what he got, and that was the end of it. The new one, the 2049, his estate gets nothing. Yeah, there's all kinds of video games now, but when Phil signed the contract for Blade Runner in 82, that was not part of the contract. Now, there was a contract for toys based on Blade Runner, but because it got an R rating, the deal for toys was killed. It's yeah, and The Matrix is based more on Phil's speech in Metz, France in 1977 than on his books. But I think they should have paid something. I'm kind of inching toward watching The Matrix Reloaded simply because someone gave me the DVD. I've been told it isn't very good, but I'll make up my own mind when I'm able to set aside an hour or so to watch it. We have a newbie here, Seth Brewer. Oh, I'm not fine. I'm an old lady. I'm not wearing my dentures, and I'm surrounded by cats. I did not go out and get these cats. They just showed up. And these 3 kittens are feral. I've arranged for a charity to get them fixed so they don't make more kittens. Their mother disappeared, and I think I know why now. The local cat house, and yes, I know what the other meaning is, but it was full of 50 cats. It was shut down, and animal control trapped all the feral cats. And one of them must have been the mommy cat of these kittens that I've rescued. The kittens were born under my house. So I'm kind of obligated to take care of them and get them homes if possible, but if not, at least get them spayed so there aren't more kittens, and then pretty soon I have 50 cats. It's hard to just keep up with feeding them. Now, Patches will, um, I can handle that one. That's why she has a name. Excuse me. The other two, once in a while I manage to touch one, but uh, they run away, even where there's food involved or treats. So I don't have much hope that they'll be adoptable. I hear a car outside. I've been throwing fits at people who park in front of my gate. I have a nice huge driveway. There's plenty of room. I let people park there for a few minutes or even an hour, but don't block my gate. And twice now I've had to yell at people. The first one I cussed her out. Total stranger. And it looked like she was setting up camp to live in my driveway. And her big SUV was blocking my gate. The second one was a guy I kind of know. He used to be friends with my son, but he parked in front of my gate. I didn't have to cuss at him, but I yelled at him. There's room for 6 cars to park without blocking my gate, and they all head straight for my gate. Now, the exception is if you're coming to see me, you can park in front of my gate because if I need you to move your car, I don't have to go look for you and find out whose car that is. You're right here. Let's see. Yes, Angus, Blade Runner could have been closer to the book and get a PG rating. Yeah, at least by today's standards. That's right, Angus. Yes, cats, unlike children, don't need their diapers changed. Well, usually. I've heard some stories. Well, anyway, yeah, Hollywood's version of Phil's work makes me suspect that they just wanted to toss out a little money to avoid a lawsuit. For example, Minority Report, totally different from Phil's story. In Phil's story, the man, they predict that the main character will kill an important general in the military. In Next, based on the Golden Man, well, in Phil's story, the Golden Man was a danger to all humanity. You again, Patches? Another guest appearance. What? Are you still hungry? Yeah, well, you're an asshole. Ah, wiggle worm. I hate kitten claws. They aren't just razor blades, they're switchblades. What? What? Criminy. Okay. Well, here comes one of your sisters. I'm pretty sure they're all female because that would be just my luck. Males don't actually have kittens. They make them, but they don't have them. Oh well. Anyway, yesterday I got 3 boxes packed up of just clutter, but the Lions yard sale can sell all that clutter, and I won't have it in my house anymore. Well, I don't make cats swallow pills. If they don't give me a liquid, I dissolve the pill and give it to them with an eyedropper. And even that is hazardous. Even though I know how it's supposed to work to force the cat to swallow the pill, I've had cats that were so sneaky, they'd end up coughing up the pill afterward anyway. But I've known some people who had elderly cats with problems and they actually put diapers on them. Ooh, it's getting really dark. We got a little rain overnight, sprinkles, but it looks like our tropical storm is going to give us some real rain. That means I don't have to water the garden. What am I getting rid of? Old Tupperware and knickknacks and glassware that I never use. I am a lion, so I kind of have to donate to the yard sale, especially since I'm not physically able to work at the yard sale. Yeah, that's an interesting take, Angus, that Hollywood bases their idea of Phil's work off of Blade Runner. Yeah, the future is slick and cool and more like Gilliam's Brazil. Yeah. Well, Gilliam should make a movie of Ubik. It's just they're made for each other. Ubik is so much like Brazil, even though the book doesn't have, the government. It's two rival corporations. But really, our government these days isn't run by corporations. Woohoo, the sun came out to shed light on the subject. Well, there's all 3 kitties. I wonder if I can get them all on camera. Come on. Come on, camera. There's the other 2. There's 2 that look like this. There's Patches shredding my chair. Thank you. Woohoo. Play killing each other. Number 3 is the most timid, and of course she ran away when I waved the camera around. She's so skittish she can't even move 6 feet away from her. Etsy Quinty saw a hilarious text in a vet's waiting room describing repeated attempts to make a cat swallow a pill. The failure was epic, destructive, and hilarious. Yeah, that's why they should give you an eyedropper and a liquid. One time they gave me not an ointment, but it was like an ointment, but it was for the cat to swallow, and you put it on your finger, and the cat is supposed to lick it off because it tastes like liver or beef or something. I ended up putting my finger in the cat's mouth and pulling it out so that it was stuck to the roof of the cat's mouth. And she's with the tongue trying to lick it off. Oh well, let's smoke up the room. It's getting dark again. The Darkening of the Light. My best book. My best novel so far. Ah, at Sequentia says, never seen less connection between a movie and the literary work it's based on than Next and The Golden Man. Maybe iRobot gets close. Well, I really liked Next, but it was not the whole story. And I liked the fact that, oh, here we go again. I'm terrible at names, but what's his name? The actor was not a pretty boy like Tom Cruise in Minority Report. Phil's characters were ordinary people, not stunningly handsome or beautiful. Well, some of the women were, but they were just ordinary men and women. You wouldn't call them gorgeous. Nicolas Cage. That's it. Thank you, at Sequentia. I think he's the one who was in City of Angels. Not a Philip K. Dick thing, but an awesome movie. I think Phil did see Brazil. I don't think he saw Time Bandits, but I'm pretty sure he did see Brazil. I saw it in a film class at college. L. Freeman is working on Mirror Cracked Revised Edition. Why are you revising my story? Oh well, go ahead. You have my permission. I won't sue you for stealing my story. I want to see what you do with it. But never steal my novels and full book length type books. You can quote from them, but don't steal the whole thing. Those are a lot of work, I can tell you. I'm still working on the exegesis, and the problem now is that my laptop computer decided that it can't start, it can't find the hard drive. And I think I have the files on a USB memory stick somewhere. But I'm kind of focused now on these gadgets that repair computers in that situation. It's more complicated than I thought it would be. In the meantime, I have plenty of actual ink and paper books to do more research. We'll see what happens. Oh, wow. I've been on for an hour and not said much of anything. L. Freeman says if you want to see Nicolas Cage at his best, see the movie Birdie. I've heard of that. Haven't seen it. Yeah. Cats have not been domesticated. Cats have domesticated us. Oh, don't be sorry, L. Freeman. Go ahead. You can publish it as long as you say inspired by or something like that. It's just one of many stories. Phil was a big influence on Angus's own writing, and he uses average people as his heroes. Very good. Howard inherited a box of his grandmother's kids' stories she wasn't able to get published. Howard hopes to submit them someday. You can actually publish them on Amazon. You won't get rich or anything, but you can get them out to the public. They have very few restrictions. You don't need their permission, but you need to avoid, uh, hard pornography or what is it? Slander, libel. Libel. When it's printed, it's libel. When you say it, it's slander. Oh, Freeman, I have a couple of gadgets that are supposed to fix the computer, but I have to get into the BIOS and tell it to read the gadget instead of the hard drive. And just reading the instructions kind of strains my brain. But I have my choice of a USB stick or a CD that's supposed to recover everything if I can get into the BIOS and tell the computer to read that device instead of the hard drive. So I might hire someone to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can do it. Yes, Angus, Phil never got hung up on hard sci-fi, and that's why he wasn't more popular in the United States. But they loved him in France. Most of his income came from France when we were married. Yeah, hard SF when done right and in small doses, but the imagination, yeah, when the rules are looser. Yeah, Phil's work bordered on fantasy, but he didn't do unicorns and dragons and stuff. I put a dragon on my blog, ekdmemoir.blogspot.com. It's so nice of Google to provide free blogs because I can't pay a monthly fee to have a blog. I'm going to have to recycle some coffee, but I'll be right back. So hang in there. Dum de dum, dum de dum de dum. Oh, be a kitty, we make that bed and pretty. Cowabunga. Oh, dum de dum, dum de dum de dum. Dum de dum. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Okay. Don't mess with the biocell, Freeman says. All I need to do is tell it to read. It doesn't do anything as it is. When I power it on, it says can't find whatever, and then it goes black. Data recovery. Patches, you're a pest. At least she thinks I'm mommy. She'll meow and she'll need me. The others don't meow. They're far from domesticated. They aren't adoptable, but this one? Well, once in a while they'll meow if they're shut outside and they want in. My door is all glass, small glass panes in a matrix. And they'll be outside going like this at the glass and meowing. That's the only time the others meow. This one, though, I think I can get her adopted into a good home. Anyway, apparently there's a list of which devices start first, and number one, of course, is the hard drive. And after that, you have things like the DVD drive and the USB ports and stuff like that. And you just want to put the DVD drive first and let the DVD or CD work its magic. I think I've got most of the data. And I usually have a backup file somewhere in my email. I email things to myself so they won't get lost forever. What I want even more than the data is for my laptop to work. I prefer using a laptop when I'm writing. And I think I know what happened. I had the Avast free antivirus, and I think it messed up my computer, my laptop. I was starting to have problems with the desktop, and I uninstalled the Avast antivirus, and all the problems went away. With the desktop, when I told it to shut down, it kept restarting instead of shutting down. And my internet was extra slow. So now I used to depend on Avast. It was a great antivirus and it was free, but lately it's been messing up my computers. So maybe get out of my coffee. Maybe Microsoft doesn't like it when you do that. They want you to use their antivirus. Oh well. Yes, you're cute and you're sweet. Don't bother me. Cats. Okay. So the exegesis as presented is mostly handwritten notes and highly repetitive, because Phil would work on a problem and then revise, add, delete, trying to draw connections between things that happened to him and our ancient myths and legends and the Bible. You see, to an ancient Israelite, those pagan gods were real. They just were not God. They were created beings that God made. Ow. They had powers that we don't have. And they wanted us to worship them, but we're not supposed to worship them. Get off me, you cat. Yeah, meow and purr, meow and purr. Switchblade claws. Quit it. I fed you. I gave you my last can of cat food. Yes, I did. No, quit. No. So, and part of the problem is that his handwriting is so illegible. I've gone to, I've forgotten it again, zebrapedia.edu, and looked at other people's translations, typed transcripts of his writing, and I can see where they have the wrong word, but only because I knew from hours and hours of mostly him talking with me, what word he really meant. His handwriting is atrocious. I don't know how he could read it himself. I have to decipher it. Meow. Get off me. That's the thing about cats. If they want to sit on you, they're going to sit on you. You have no choice. Ah. Oh, is that interesting? Some of the various programs outside of Microsoft have been bought under the table by foreign intelligence services. So you actually get a virus, not a cure. Sneaky. And they find it hilarious. That's nice. Well, anyway. When I went to the Avast website to cancel my free trial of premium service, look, you've got one. Eat it, idiot. Don't bug me for more. I clicked cancel, nothing happened. I kept clicking it over and over, and it didn't cancel. Fortunately, what I hooked up was PayPal, and I get pretty good protection from PayPal. If I say it's not a valid transaction, they'll cancel it for me. No, you get off me. Get off. It takes forever to open a can of people tuna. So I'm not going to do that till I'm off of this podcast. Rotten kitty cat. She is persistent. There's kibble in her dish. She isn't going to starve. And they had a can of Friskies this morning. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past our own government, at least the unelected bureaucratic agencies, to mess with our computers. Wow. So once I get through August and September, think I can pay my bills, and then I have some paint and brushes and rollers, and I'm gonna have to start painting the outside of the house. It hasn't been painted in 20 years. I have the paint and everything. I've got to start doing it because I can't afford to hire someone. I know it's easier with one of those sprayers, but it doesn't do as good a job. It really doesn't. But I will have to hire someone to do things I can't reach. Fortunately, it's a single-story house. Back when I had a two-story house, I painted up as high as I could reach with a roller on a long handle, and then I hired some guys to do the top parts where I couldn't reach. No, no, no. Get off of me. You know what this cat does? I'll set my tablet on the desk and have it playing YouTube or my phone, and she'll come along and touch it with her paw, and it invariably she touches a hot link and it switches to a different YouTube channel. See, I like to play YouTube for information and inspiration while I'm napping, and I nap a lot lately. Oh man. Got itchies. Yeah, right around my collarbone. What? You guys are pests. You're vultures. You're piranhas. I fed you. Go eat your kibble. Jeez. Well, anyway. It's just horrible. Yeah. I will get some help with the computer. But I have the most important data backed up. The desktop computer was given to me by Cardinal Sin. He started a GoFundMe and raised the money and picked out the computer and sent it to me. And it's awesome. I already had a monitor from back in the dark ages when my former desktop computer bit the dust. And I'd been using it just to watch DVDs and VCR videotapes. I still have a working VCR. Yeah, you're a cute kitty. Yeah, you're the one who doesn't pester me. Yes. The little gray and white kitty cat. Yes. The one who runs away if I touch her too often or too close to her face. But if I touch her paw, and sometimes if I touch her back and scritch her a little, she hesitates and then runs away. Not adoptable. You really need to get adoptable. Otherwise, you're just going to be a feral cat forever. She says, I know, I don't care. I don't need humans. Why no with painting? I enjoy it, and even with all the problems in my legs, I can go like this. That's all you have to do, paint. I was painting my kitchen before I broke my leg by being careless and foolish. And it's mostly done. But while I was out recovering, some fool thought it would be helpful to take all the stuff I had hauled out of the kitchen to make room to paint and put it back in the kitchen, and then shove all my painting supplies and tools into various random boxes and put all my cans of paint outside where they could get ruined by heat and cold, sitting outside. But the house paint is in my shed with a padlock on it. What I don't understand is why they took my stereo equipment and put it out in the shed. One shed is locked, the other one isn't. They weren't even thinking straight, and they had no business touching my stuff. They didn't ask me. They knew I would say no, so they just did it, knowing that I would not like it. For example, I keep a pair of pliers in the kitchen for opening those tight bottle caps of juice and milk and stuff like that. I eventually found it in a box of crap in a stack of boxes of crap. Oh, I should have pliers in the kitchen. 'Cause I do. It's my pliers, my kitchen. God. And then they put crap in the kitchen that I had packed up to get rid of. Some to go in the trash and some to get donated to, charity, food banks. I still have enough pasta, rice, and potato flakes to feed an army. So if the end of the world comes, as long as I have access to clean water, I will not starve. Wow. Anyway, the way I fell was I got my foot caught in the corner of a sheet that I had put on my chair to protect it from marauding cats. Now, if I had been more careful walking across the room, I would not have gotten my foot caught and I would not have fallen and my leg would not have broken. But it was not because of osteoporosis. It was because I actually ended up airborne and landed on my knee with my leg bent. At least it was a clean break. No subluxation, no displacement, just a clean break. And it actually didn't hurt until I tried to stand on it. That kind of hurt. But I already had a pair of crutches in the house, so I wiggled over to the closet on my belly and got my crutches. And it's a good thing I did because the hospital didn't provide a walker or crutches, not even for me to use while I was there to get to their stinking restroom. So when I went home, because my brother and his wife are retired nurses, they didn't try to they didn't try to force me into a rest home, a skilled nursing facility. Yeah, right. It's a rest home. Um, I would not have had the crutches if I didn't have my own, and they would have had to carry me. Well, unfortunately, Freeman, in California, you can't have a water tank. It's illegal. Anyway, on my second day at my brother's house, my insurance company brought a walker. Problem is, it was huge. It was wide enough for a 600-pound gorilla. So I was kind of clumsy with it because you got to navigate between furniture. Just to get into the bathroom or out the front door, I had to turn it around sideways. So when I came home to my house, I said, you have the walker, do what you want with it. Water tank's illegal because we're not allowed to collect the rainwater. It belongs to the government. California and Oregon both. I do. You know how the first gallon of water from the hot tap in your kitchen is usually cold? I capture it and use it to water the garden. So I've always got some bottle of stored tap water and I rotate them. And in an emergency, I'd have to, put in a little chlorine bleach, a few drops, and shake it up and wait a while, and maybe even boil it. But I would have some water. Wouldn't last me forever, but we do have creeks and lakes in this area. Just saying. People would bring me water, but I'll have some on hand. I can't even build a carport. Certainly not a garage, and you can't build a carport without a permit. And to get a permit, you have to pay $1,200 to apply for a variance, and you never get those. The variance never gets approved. They just keep your money. So nobody can build a carport, but you can build a trellis or arbor for like grapes and other vines. And, okay, I'm parking my car under the grape arbor. Lord. It's crazy in this county. And I have got code enforcement trying to ticket me for violating city codes. We're not in a city. This is an unincorporated area of the county, and the codes are different. For example, in the city, you have to keep your trash barrels by the side of your house. Well, not here. For one thing, if I put them by the side of my house, I couldn't open my door to go in and out. But our code does not require it. That's only in the city. And when I pointed that, jeez, I'm getting clumsier. When I pointed that out in a response to their warning, they wrote back asking me to explain the codes that I was talking about. So I wrote back, "It is not my job to explain your codes to you." And one time they ticketed my wheelbarrow as a non-operational motor vehicle. Well, last time I checked, my wheelbarrow never had a motor. And most recently, I think it's been 6 or 7 years now, they said I had old tires all over my property. So I wrote back, well, I actually did walk around my yard, and I wrote back and said, "I've walked around my whole yard and I can't find any tires. I don't know what you're talking about." Haven't heard from them since. But when someone else illegally parked it looked like a trailer to me. It turned out it was for towing. It had like two wheels, run the front wheels of a car up onto it, and then use it to tow. That was a code violation. It was outside my fence, but in my driveway. They were they didn't tag me, but they didn't cite me for that, and they wouldn't get rid of it for me. So I finally went on Facebook and got a local guy who wanted it, and he took it away. Yeah, Phil was inspired by Franz Kafka. I have his copy of one of Kafka's novels. Um, I think it's The Castle. I'm not positive. Hi, Oswald. Good morning. International Surveillance Day, huh? I figured, I just assume that they're watching me all the time. Well, code enforcement never actually fined me or took me to court, but they came close. So I finally got them. They said I complained that this was not a violation, whatever it was, and they said, "Well, you've been cited every year for 5 years." And I wrote back, "Yes, and this pattern of harassment proves that you're discriminating against me based on age and gender, and you will stop it." And they stopped it. You think Cardinal Sin could send me a surveillance camera? My problem with cameras is trying to find one that does not require a monthly subscription. One of my neighbors got a Ring doorbell, and someone stole the Ring doorbell. So, what's the point of that? And another neighbor had his own setup. He was more tech savvy than I am. He set up his own cameras that sent images to his computer, and people started stealing the cameras. He had cameras all over the place. In a way, I'm glad he moved out. Apparently, the burglars were stealing his illegal drugs. I never had a problem with him, but the people who came around, like, it was too much hassle to climb over my fence, so they broke down my fence. And my gate wasn't even locked. They could have just opened the stinking gate. Um, One time, someone stole an old bicycle that I had planned to send to the dump. It had two flat tires. It was rusty and dented, and paint gone. The paint was rubbed off by weather and wear. And I didn't have to get someone to haul it to the dump because some idiot stole it. Our dump, it's really a station where they gather the trash and before hauling it to the real dump. They have a thrift shop. They could have gotten $5 for it, maybe. Oh, and the other thing about that bicycle was the brakes didn't work. But that was a long time ago, something like 10 years. Now, the people next door, same house, now are squatters. There's no utilities. There's a huge hole in the roof. Long, boring story there. They have a generator, and every day they go get a can of gasoline to run the generator. I don't know what they do for water. Um, it's really a puzzlement. But they seem to be hauling away all the junk and trash from the backyard, actually fixing it up a little bit. I well, I haven't had many problems with them. For the most part, they're nice people, but down on their luck, and I would never dream of squatting like that, but I suspect they've got drug and alcohol problems. 77 in Wyoming. It's eight. Well, my computer says it's 87 here, but I don't think so. It feels like the 70s, 75 or so. Let's see if my phone or my tablet will tell me. 6. Yeah, the phone is usually right. Oh, man. Idiotic environmental groups are suing the U.S. Forest Service over plans to thin 1,300 acres of forest near Big Bear. They are idiots. These trees were planted by loggers. They're way too crowded. They're more than the land can support. They're going to die because there are too many trees for the available resources like water and soil. And then we'll have a huge forest fire again. That's why the U.S. Forest Service is thinning it out to make the forest more healthy. So the trees don't die, catch fire, and burn down the whole mountain. Okay. Freeman is recommending something called paranoia. Hmm. That must be a post that I missed. Oh, it's a role playing game. Okay. Well, if you want to post a link, L. Freeman, I have to give you a wrench. Um, there you go. Next time you post and L. Freeman, you should have a wrench so you can post links. Oswald says if the mountain caught fire, at least I probably wouldn't have to deal with more porch pirates, berry bandits, or gate grifters. True, but our mountain caught fire in 2003 for the same reason. The environmentalists wouldn't allow anyone to take down dead and dying trees. And then, of course, an arsonist said, "Oh, whoopee," and set the mountain on fire. It wasn't even a homeless person, Oswald, it was just a criminal. But yeah, half the fires in Oregon are started by houseless, unsheltered, mentally ill. Well, we've had many small fires started by homeless by accident. They they want to get warm when it's cold, or they want to cook their food and they don't know what they're doing. You know how the authorities are dealing with that? They're giving them little camp stoves and stuff like that, which is okay till they run out of propane bottles for fuel. But many of our homeless around here can't go to the shelters because they're not allowed to take their pets. And many of them have a dog or a cat. They're not going to send them to the pound to be euthanized, killed. So they do the best they can on the street, forest. I think in the 2003 old fire, I think the mountains lost about 30 homes. It could have been much worse, but residents here are very good at clearing the brush on their own property. The problem is that the land that belongs to the county or the Forest Service, they have to deal with these environmental maniacs who don't want the brush cleared. In a town called Paris, Perris, down in our southern desert, people were not allowed to clear the brush on their property. It was an environmental thing because the Stevens kangaroo rat lived there, and it was different from other kangaroo rats because it had a black spot in its brown fur. People's homes burned down. And after all that, they discovered that the kangaroo rat preferred land where the brush had been cleared. Environmentalists are nuts. They don't believe that humans are part of nature. Well, I'm sorry, but we've lived on this planet for at least thousands of years. I can't go with the 6,000 years that they come up with through biblical genealogies, because we know that the glaciers started melting 12,000 years ago. But I also can't go with millions of years because our dating systems are not very good. They make too many assumptions. But we know that humans here during the height of the Ice Age, when there were glaciers all over the northern United States, from Seattle, Washington to Bangor, Maine, mile-high glaciers. Oh, and I've been listening to the Navajo stories on YouTube. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the name of the channel. But they point out that according to their oral history, they did not come from Siberia. Some of their people went north from Arizona and New Mexico and never came back. But they did not come down from the north. They came from the east. And just my impression, and I could be wrong, but from what I've seen and heard, I think they were originally Israelites. Their language sounds a lot like ancient Hebrew, and their religion sounds a lot like Judaism. And they don't really have any connection with Siberia. Oh, at Sequentia, what a coincidence. YouTube recommended Navajo stories video to you. Okay. It might be because you watch my videos and I watch a lot of Navajo stories. Now, some of the younger Navajo go along with the archaeologists' mythology. I'll call it that. It's just what they want to be true. But the older Navajo who remember the stories that their grandfathers told, they just have no respect for these anthropologists. Decide this is what really happened, and since we're college educated white men who know everything, it doesn't matter what the people say about where they came from. We know better. Oh. But the Navajo and other tribes in our American Southwest all say that some of their people went north and never came back. So I think it's most likely that Native Americans went to Siberia, and that's why the people in the northern states like Montana have some of the same DNA as people of Siberia. They probably went back and forth and intermarried. Oh, and the Anasazi are not the ancestors of the Navajo. They're the they're the enemies of the Navajo ancestors. They were probably Aztecs. When the Anasazi finally left, they went south. what's south of Arizona and New Mexico? Uh, Mexico. They engaged in slave trading and they kept slaves. They engaged in cannibalism and human sacrifice. Kind of sounds like an Aztec to me. And after they left, the people who had been oppressed and enslaved by the Anasazi tore down all their structures and smashed all their pottery and burned whatever they could to erase all trace of those evil enemies. But some archaeologist or anthropologist decided the Anasazi were the ancestors of the Navajo. And every time they see a ruin, they say, oh, that's Anasazi, even though it's probably a ruin from the Pueblo people or another group, another tribe, who eventually joined the Diné, the people that we call Navajo, which is actually, as in most cases, it's what some other tribe called them, not what they called themselves. At least Navajo is not an insult. Many of the names we use for Indian tribes are the insults that enemy tribes used to use referring to them. Their slaves were Pueblo people and mostly Pueblo people. The actual ancestors of the Navajo were so numerous, it was harder to uh, oppress them because the Anasazi were not a large people group, but the Pueblo people were a small group and more defenseless. Now, the Navajo would sometimes buy a slave, but the rules were after 3 days, the slave became a member of the tribe and was freed. So, what they were buying was 3 days of labor, and then that person was free and a member of the tribe because they just didn't believe in slavery. And of course, among the Navajo, we have the Zuni and some other tribes who joined with them, including the Pueblo people. That isn't what they call themselves. And more recently, our government cheated them out of their fair share of water from the Colorado River. More than anything, what the Navajo reservation needs is water. They used to grow crops, but they don't have enough water now. I think with the massive rains and snows we've been having, maybe the government could start giving them their fair share of the water. Their treaty called for 1/3 of the water from this, I think it was a tributary or a branch of the Colorado River, not the main river, but the actual treaty gave them 1/3 of a hectare or something like that. They are starved for water. You think our representatives in DC care? Ha! Have you heard that song? Rich Men North of Richmond. I keep forgetting the singer's name. He's all over YouTube. If you just search Rich Men North of Richmond, you'll find his channel, his videos, and reaction videos by people who listen to the song and react to it. Well, what is north of Richmond? Washington, D.C. My water's empty. Anyway, that's a great song. I just can't quite come up with his name. Let me get some water. Um, Patches, don't you dare attack my feet. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Yes, you're lying in wait, looking for a passing foot to attack. Cats. Well, native tribes in the East, even the Cherokee, enslaved each other. The Cherokee even had black slaves. They would trade for slaves. Um, on the other hand, black people had slaves. Free blacks often had slaves. And the first confirmed slave owner was a black man. I forgot his first name. Last name was Johnson. But when he died, the local government decided that his son could not inherit the slaves. They had to go to his white neighbor. Slavery became a racial thing because of the churches attacking them for having slaves. But there was a big slave trade between plantation owners in the South and the Cherokee tribes. There's more than one sub-tribe within the Cherokee. And the Cherokee really didn't make it a racial thing. It was the white plantation owners trying to defend slavery. So they used race as an excuse. But boy, when it came to electing representatives in Congress, they wanted all their slaves to count when they counted the population to determine how many representatives they got. Well, they kept insisting that black people were not fully human because they couldn't argue that slavery was a good thing. I'm mortified that the Cherokee had slaves. I'm probably part Cherokee. I know I'm part black. Yes, because my double great grandfather was buried on the black side of the cemetery. And Grandpa had an awfully big nose for a white man. Oswald says being fully human is overrated anyway. Oh, half Irish. Yeah, there were lots of Irish slaves. There were Irish slaves before there were black slaves, and there were more, arguably more Irish slaves than black slaves in North America. They called it indentured servitude. Supposedly, they would work on the plantation for 7 years and then they'd be free. But most of them never got their freedom because they'd be in debt to the proverbial company store. The master that they were serving would charge them for food, clothing, and shelter over the 7 years while they were working as slaves. And at the end of 7 years, they'd be in debt, so they'd have to keep working to pay the debt. Uh, L. Freeman is searching for a link to show everybody a picture. Well, if you don't find it today, you can always post it next week. Wow. I've definitely been on for 2 hours. Oh, hi, Nishay. Yeah, how'd the World Cup go? Soccer. No, cricket. I always think soccer when I think Europe, but it was cricket. Oh, it starts in October. Okay, well, I'll have to ask you in November, I guess. I'm going to click that heart thing and see what happens. It kind of makes some hearts go up the side of the chat, and then it disappears. The only soccer in Europe is French sacre bleu. Yeah, I know, you call it football. Well, no, in South America it's football. In Europe it's football. But see, we have American football, which is kind of like a more civilized form of rugby. Yeah, everyone in India calls it football. Uh, and some black slaves, see, if they followed the law, the plantation owners, and those who just had household slaves, to cook and clean, slaves had days off. And on their days off, they were allowed to work for wages and have money. And quite a few slaves managed to save up and buy their own freedom and buy their families, their wives and children. And some of them learned skills, not because slavery was a good thing, but because they wanted to rise above it and succeed, like most people, whether you're enslaved or not. And frankly, if you work in a factory, you might as well be a slave. It's like that song, Rich Men North of Richmond. It says he works all day. He works overtime for bullshit pay. And I can't help thinking of Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons, mining coal. You load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. If you're a miner or a factory worker, many occupations, housekeeping at a hotel, you might as well be a slave. If you clock in a minute late, they dock your pay. If you clock in a minute early, they tell you don't do that. It screws up our bookkeeping. And we have to pay you overtime for that minute. Well, why not do away with the clocks? Is it too much work to just take a look and see who's there and who isn't? Oh, wow. I've done factory work. I don't mind the work, but he's right about the bullshit pay. Even so, I was getting by just fine until Nixon canceled the defense or aerospace contract, and our little factory that made parts for the big company had to lay off half the workforce. So I went to work at Pup and Taco, which eventually went bankrupt and got bought by Taco Bell. And when they went bankrupt, of course, everyone was fired. Taco Bell brought in their own people, shut down the store and demolished it. The store. We loosely call those fast food places restaurants. So I went to school, got a degree. I was headed toward a degree in life science, but I ended up with a degree in foreign language. Circumstances just made it impossible for me to take all the courses I needed for the life science degree. The college offers courses when on their schedule, not the student's schedule. And many of them required field trips where I really could not take my small, 3-year-old boy with me. long, sad story. Anyway, I decided to join the army. They'd give me a $5,000 bonus, and I'd never see combat because in those days women didn't serve in combat. I'd probably be in the secretarial pool, which was okay with me, but they would not extend benefits to my child. I was okay with having his father raise him, but why would I serve in the army and my son not be eligible for benefits? Didn't seem right. So I talked to the Navy and they acted like they didn't want me at all. So I went back to school and got a degree in public relations. And as I was graduating, Reaganomics took force and everyone was cutting advertising, public relations, marketing. So I went back to school and got a master's degree in English literature, and I taught English for 12 years. Never got on tenure track, never got decent pay. And finally, I just got super physically ill and couldn't work at all for a while. And I tried to do some writing, but even that was slow and painful and not making much money. But I did get a settlement because Phil's daughters wanted to consolidate all of the rights, and I had some of the rights. They didn't really pay it, to my mind, what it was worth, but we're family. We aren't supposed to just fight each other endlessly and make the lawyers rich. So they weren't happy and I wasn't happy, but it's done. I didn't get tenure because they classified me as adjunct faculty and a temporary employee. So my contract ran for the term. You might call it a semester, we called it a term. And every time a new term started, I got a new contract. And when we organized, there were a bunch of us in that situation. When we organized and said, hey, look, we're actually working full time, and you have us as part time temporary, instead of doing the right thing and putting us on tenure track, they cut our hours and our pay. It got to where I was working to support the car that I needed to get to work. Wasn't worth it. A lot of us quit. And they got new, young, recent college graduates who needed the experience and would move on to other jobs eventually. But, um, and I would have, except I got really seriously ill. I came close to dying. I was in the emergency room peeing blood because my kidneys were failing. Took a long time to recover, and by then my experience, such as it was so far in the past, it didn't really give me much leverage with a new employer. Oh, yeah, Phil thought I would meet another man and leave him if I went to school. Eh, well, no, I didn't need another man. I needed an education. When he discussed literature that I knew nothing about, I thought I should know about it. That's why I went ahead and got the degree in literature. I'd already read a lot of, when I was studying the German language, I read a lot of German literature in German, including Kafka's Metamorphosis. But really, that isn't what killed the marriage. It was that Phil wanted to leave for another woman, and she didn't want him. That's the crazy thing about it. So he ended up with nobody. I would have married him again eventually, but he died. I'd actually, after him proposing over and over and over to marry him again, I finally said yes, and then he died. But that Christmas, he got me a dozen red roses, and he bought our son all kinds of toys, and I was just starting to move into his condo. And I didn't have the keys yet, and he died. And when he was in the hospital, a certain person convinced them to give her his keys. Well, that was not a good thing. Um, it was messy. And I found myself accused of all the things that actually previous wives had done. Yeah, it still gets to me. I've never been hospitalized for being insane. I've had all the psychiatric tests, psychological tests, and nope, I don't come out as crazy. I insisted on taking a number of the tests because Phil had convinced me that I was crazy. But the psychologist said, no, you're not crazy. You're just intelligent. Okay, I'll take it. But man, I was upset. I still miss Phil. I mean, everyone has faults. He wasn't perfect. But he had a good, kind heart at the bottom of it all. But he was damaged. He'd been injured psychologically by his past, beginning when he was a child. And his mother sent him to boarding school. Now, I'm sure she thought it was the best thing for him. but it didn't turn out too well. The illness with the kidneys, I can't tell you what year it was. Um, it might have been '03 or '04, somewhere in there between 2000 and 2005. This is one of the reasons that I keep old documents. I can't remember what year, let alone what month or day. I'm not a pack rat in the usual sense. I've sent, I've had, even now, I still have friends haul pickup truck loads of trash to the dump for me at least once a month. For a while, it was every week. You see, two different households dumped their stuff here and never came back for it. And since I keep finding cash money in their boxes, there's no way I'm going to just, here, take this box away, it isn't mine. Not if there's cash money in it. I'll go through it first. Then I think it was around 2010 that I had the slip and fall. Cracked my skull, my brain swelled up. And the insurance settlement I got was not even enough to pay for my medical bills, so I had to go bankrupt. And things went from bad to worse, so I had to give up the car. I couldn't continue the payments while, see, it was Chapter 13 bankruptcy. I had to make monthly payments for various debts, and the one thing I could give up was the car, which had a monthly payment. And by doing that, I was able to successfully finish the bankruptcy. The biggest chunk was student loans. I ended up refinancing my home so I could pay off the student loans and get my bankruptcy discharged. But then I couldn't make the payments on the house. Anyway, I went from doing really well to in the pits. And I don't mind not having a car, but I do mind having to struggle with keeping the house warm in the winter. I don't even have air conditioning, so the summertime my utility bills are generally very low, but the rates have doubled and my income stays the same. And that's what's killing me. I've actually had to go on food stamps. Don't like it, but you know, between that and the local food banks, I get enough to eat. And people drive me places. The insurance company, the health insurance, will provide me with a ride to the doctor, but it because we're in the mountains, a rural mountain area, it isn't all that great a deal. They send a Lyft or an Uber, Um, so I wear my little gadget when I'm riding with some stranger in a Lyft or an Uber. You press the button for emergency help. It's the only thing I use it for, just in case. Um, but I have to estimate when I'm going to leave the doctor's office. So last time I had estimated completely wrong and I still had an hour to wait for the ride. And my cell phone didn't work there. So I got the receptionist to let me use their landline phone, call a friend, and she was without a car. Her son had the car. And just by sheer chance, another friend walked in for her treatment. She had her appointment same day and almost the same time as mine, so she drove me home. She lives nearby, which helps. Okay, Freeman wants to know, was Cleo nice to you? I never met Cleo. As far as I know, the few times I had contact with Nancy, she was nice. The only contact I had with Anne was a letter shortly after Phil died, suggesting that I should cooperate with her daughter because um, her daughter could provide me with certain advantages. I didn't respond. Anne was in the mental hospital against her will after threatening Phil and the sheriff with a gun. My impression of Nancy, though, is that she's a very nice person, and I've had no contact with Cleo. See, Anne is Laura's mother, and Nancy is Issa's mother. I did have contact with Phil's mother, and I visited her twice. I think she was living in Sebastopol. It's been such a long time, I can't be sure. Don't remember that well, but I was visiting relatives in Napa, and of course I got lost trying to find Anne's house, but I got there eventually. Now, Nancy had psychological problems and was hospitalized several times, but as far as I know, she was never violent toward Phil. And the few times that I met her, she just seemed like a very nice lady. And Phil's mother was a very nice lady, but from what I observed, she really was not cut out to raise children. Not that she was a bad person, but she was a traditional English lady. Her parents were English and Scottish. And they had the old Victorian philosophy of not spoiling your children, treating them like little adults. It's a cultural thing. And Isa seems like a very nice, friendly person, but my son had uh, a different impression because they argued about politics. Never, never bring up politics with people that you don't know very well. Hi, Top Rankin. I'm. I've been on for 2.5 hours. I'm almost ready to sign off. Anyway, yeah, I'm doing Wednesday mornings now, Verizon permitting. I've looked into all the alternatives and they really are no better. Frontier sounded like a good deal until I found out that price was for 1 gig of internet. Well, I go through 3 gigs in a day. At least Verizon gives me 15 gigs. Well, and I have 15 gigs on my phone as well. I found, though, that hooking my phone to the computer to use those 15 gigs doesn't work. It's better if I just use them on the phone. So I watch these little tiny YouTube videos or stuff like that, or search on Google and enlarge the screen so I can go back and forth and actually read the words. Mint is good if you have coverage for T-Mobile. Well, frankly, Verizon is the least worst in this area. They own the towers, so anyone who does provide service up here is using Verizon towers. Well, Frontier has optical fiber, but as I said, the great price that they offer is for 1 gig of internet. And I can use up to 5 in one day if I'm not careful. I use 3 gigs just to do this once a week. My live YouTube. I'm using more than 3 gigs today, 2.5 hours. And my bacon avocado toast is waiting for me. Also, the blackberries have been coming ripe. Every day I get a handful of blackberries to eat. And I even gave them away a couple times. So for what Frontier wants for 15 gigs of internet, I'd be paying much more than I pay Verizon. And I'd have a modem that is in the house and nowhere else. Uh-oh. Electricity. Phew, got it plugged in. My wireless modem, I can take it with me and use it anywhere. Got to turn off the speakers. Don't need them anyway. And having an device close to the speakers makes them rumble. So, wow. I'm getting by this month because I've sold one of my few handwritten notes from Phil. I'm ready to let go of all these Mementos because my son doesn't want them and I'm old. I'd rather have them, in the hands of people who value them than just die and have them tossed out or sent to some library. The one thing I will never forgive is having his special collections moved to Berkeley when Phil specifically gave them to Cal State Fullerton. Fullerton's, it's now a university. It was a college. They still have some of Phil's archives in their special collections, and other people have given them more. That reminds me, there have been obvious forgeries turning up on eBay that were not actually signed by Phil. The latest one was probably someone named Philip signed a book to someone with just his first name, Philip, and someone added K. Dick and tried to sell it on eBay. But for one thing, it had two L's, and Phil had only one. And the other thing is, it wasn't his handwriting and it wasn't his signature. Hi, Cardinal Sin. I'm still trying to. Oh, spelled with an H, not a J. Um, Getting ready to sign off. 2 hours and 38 minutes. This is a long one. Yes, Cardinal Sin is highly praised here, and you need to watch his channel too. His channel is monetized, mine is not. If you happen to see ads on the replay, that's just YouTube. And since they give me this free platform, I guess it's okay, but I don't get paid. Yeah, of course my internet's good today because I want to get off and eat my bacon avocado toast. I have to gain some weight. This is ridiculous. Yes, Tora. You gonna say hi to your adoring fans? Let's see if I can get her on camera. Oop. Where are you? There she is. Yes, I have treats for you. Look it. Tora. Tora, Tora. Well, where's your face? I'm not good at this. There she is. Let's put down the camera and give her some treats for being such a good girl. Yes. Not much light in here. The clouds keep rolling in. Anyway, Patches made a guest appearance several times. She's finally quit pestering me. Well, why aren't you eating your treats? You didn't want the green ones? Ah, cats. How about this one? Want some party mix? Okay. I gave her the wrong flavor of treats. Go figure. Okay. It isn't about growing it, Sequentia. It's about the time I had the Google ads. It took me a year to earn $20, and their minimum for payout was 50. And when they were just doing a global massacre, they canceled my account and kept my $20 and refused to reinstate me. Even a year later, when they were reinstating people, they said no. My son misses his dad and has his memories, but these things, to him, they're just stuff, clutter. And he's kind of a minimalist. And I'm beginning to feel the same way, that having all these things weighs you down. He has the things he needs. He has his memories and his name and so forth. And to him, his father was dad, not some famous science fiction writer. You know, they had a real relationship, and it's personal. So better to let avid collectors have value or treasure. In a way, I'm just a caretaker of those things. Oh, and Cardinal Sin put up his link. Check it out. He has some. I love it when he interviews Walter Bosley. I'm not sure whether he's interviewed Joseph Farrell. No, I don't sue eBay for forgeries. I just contact people. I contact the seller and I contact eBay. The last one was also on Abe's books. It got taken down after I contacted them. And it briefly appeared on eBay, but got taken down there as well. And they claimed it was some worker in the sale. Now, you can sell a forgery as long as you say this is a forgery. Cardinal Sin says, not yet, but Dr. Joseph Farrell is coming up. Walter Bosley should be on again soon. Awesome. I'll have to listen more often. I don't always participate in chat. Sometimes I just lurk and listen. Well, YouBoob is owned by Google. And Google has refused to approve me to be monetized for anything. I used to have their ads on my blog. And of course, they won't even say why they kicked me out. Canceled it and kept the lousy $20 I had earned. And they're Google, you can't really fight them. And I'm not sure I would want to work with them again if that's how they treat people. Yeah, lurkers welcome. That's how I feel, Cardinal Sid. As long as you keep the video running. I do want my podcast to be more popular. And I can always put in my links for PayPal and GoFundMe. On the whole, I prefer PayPal. Their fees are a lot less, and sometimes there's no fee. And if you send me $5 at GoFundMe or buy me a coffee, they take a few cents out of it. Go figure. Well, they have to stay in business. I don't fault them for that, but I prefer lower fees or no fees at all. But some people simply will not use PayPal. And I've had better service from them than from the bank or the credit union. Yeah, so we're getting close to 3 hours now. 2 hours and 47 minutes. And I'm about out of things to say. But do pray for Maui. And remember, this is your chat room, and this is your event once a week at this time, Wednesday mornings, because that's when my internet seems to work well. And always keep the faith, and if you don't pray, you can always send positive thoughts. And take care of yourself. You're all important people with your own talents, your own needs. Robot out. Sorry. I'm going to, it's time to sign off. So, thank you all for listening and have a great day. And a great week and a month and year and life. See you on the flip flop.